Imagine waking up one morning to discover that an entire kingdom had disappeared. Not defeated by war. Not destroyed by famine. Not swallowed by plague. Simply, gone. Across Africa, hidden beneath forests, deserts, and forgotten landscapes, lie the remains of civilizations that once rivaled the greatest kingdoms on earth. Their rulers commanded armies. Their traders crossed continents. Their cities sparkled with gold. Yet today, many people have never even heard their names. Tonight, we uncover one of the greatest mysteries in African history. The rise, the glory, and the astonishing disappearance of a forgotten African kingdom. But be warned. The deeper we go into this story, the stranger it becomes. Long before European ships appeared on African shores, powerful kingdoms flourished across the continent. Africa was not a land without civilization. It was a continent of scholars, builders, traders, and kings. In the heart of Africa, vast trade routes connected distant lands. Gold flowed north. Salt flowed south. Ideas traveled everywhere. Entire cities emerged in places many people today would consider impossible. One kingdom stood above many others. Its wealth became legendary. Travelers spoke of streets filled with merchants. Markets overflowing with goods. And rulers so wealthy that their names echoed across continents. Yet despite its power, much of its history would eventually fade into mystery. How could something so mighty disappear? The answer begins with an extraordinary ruler. A king whose wealth stunned the world. His name was Mansa Musa. Even today, many historians consider him one of the richest people who ever lived. Imagine possessing so much gold that entire economies changed when you traveled. That is exactly what happened. In the 14th century, Mansa Musa ruled the Songhai Empire. The empire stretched across vast territories of West Africa. Its gold mines produced enormous wealth. Caravans crossed deserts carrying precious resources. Cities like Timbuktu became centers of learning and culture. Then came the journey that changed history. Mansa Musa decided to perform the pilgrimage to Mecca. He traveled with thousands of attendants, hundreds of camels, and unimaginable amounts of gold. Everywhere he stopped, he gave gold away. To the poor. To merchants. To religious institutions. The generosity was extraordinary. But there was a problem. Too much gold entered local economies. Prices changed. Markets became unstable. Some regions took years to recover. That is how wealthy he was. Yet while the empire appeared unstoppable, hidden dangers were already growing. And they would eventually threaten everything. At the center of this story stood Timbuktu. Today many people know the name. Few understand how remarkable it truly was. Imagine a city where scholars gathered from distant lands. Libraries filled with priceless manuscripts. Universities attracting students from across Africa and beyond. While parts of Europe struggled through difficult periods, Timbuktu was thriving as a center of education. Astronomy. Mathematics. Medicine. Law. Philosophy. Knowledge flourished. Books became symbols of prestige. Owning manuscripts was considered a sign of wealth and status. The city became famous. Travelers described it with admiration. Merchants sought its markets. Scholars sought its wisdom. For a time, it seemed nothing could challenge its greatness. But history teaches us a harsh lesson. No empire remains powerful forever, and beyond the horizon, change was coming. Empires often collapse slowly. The warning signs are easy to miss. Leaders become divided. Trade weakens. Rivals grow stronger. The Mali Empire faced all these challenges. After the death of great rulers, succession disputes emerged. Different groups competed for power. Control weakened. Territories began drifting away. At the same time, neighboring kingdoms watched carefully. Different groups competed for power. Control weakened. Territories began drifting away. At the same time, neighboring kingdoms watched carefully. Among them was Songhai. At first, Songhai had been part of Mali's sphere of influence. But ambitions were growing. Its leaders wanted more. More territory. More power. More wealth. Eventually, the balance shifted. The mighty empire that once dominated the region found itself losing control. And Songhai was ready to seize the opportunity. The Songhai Empire rose with incredible speed. Under strong leaders, it expanded dramatically. Armies conquered key territories. Trade routes came under new management. Cities changed hands. The empire's influence spread across vast distances. One ruler stood out above the rest. Askia Muhammad. A strategist. A reformer. A visionary leader. He strengthened administration. Encouraged education. Expanded commerce. For a time, Songhai became one of the largest empires in African history. Its future appeared bright. Yet destiny had other plans. A threat was approaching from far beyond the desert. One that few anticipated. And it would change everything. In the late 16th century, Morocco sought greater control over West African gold resources. The temptation was enormous. Gold had fueled empires for centuries. Moroccan leaders wanted access. What happened next shocked many observers. A military expedition crossed the Sahara. The desert itself was a terrifying obstacle. Heat. Distance. Lack of water. Danger at every step. Yet the army pressed forward. When battle finally came, technology played a decisive role. Songhai warriors were brave. Experienced. Numerous. But the invaders possessed firearms. The outcome changed history. The empire weakened dramatically. Political instability spread. Trade suffered. The great power that had dominated the region began to fracture. And from that moment onward, the story became increasingly mysterious. As centuries passed, the once powerful empire faded. Cities shrank. Trade routes shifted. New powers emerged. Old centers of influence declined. Nature reclaimed abandoned places. Buildings collapsed. Memories became legends. Stories passed from generation to generation. Some ruins disappeared beneath vegetation. Others were swallowed by sand. Travelers heard tales of lost cities. Forgotten kings. Hidden treasures. Ancient secrets. The kingdom had not literally vanished. But in another sense, it had. Its greatness disappeared from global memory. For generations, much of the world forgot what had once existed there. Yet the evidence never truly disappeared. It waited patiently for rediscovery. Today, historians and archaeologists continue uncovering clues. Ancient manuscripts. Ruins. Oral traditions. Artifacts. Each discovery helps rebuild the story. What emerges is astonishing. Africa's past is far richer and more complex than many people realize. The kingdoms of Mali and Songhai were not isolated societies. They participated in global trade. Developed sophisticated governments. Supported centers of learning. Produced remarkable achievements. Every new discovery challenges old assumptions. And every uncovered artifact brings forgotten voices back into history. The kingdom may have faded. Its cities may have changed. Its rulers may have passed into legend. But its story survives. Not in palaces. Not in treasure vaults. But in memory. The rise and fall of great African civilizations remind us that history is never truly lost. Sometimes it simply waits to be remembered. And perhaps the greatest mystery is not why these kingdoms disappeared. But why did the world forget them for so long? If you enjoyed this journey into Africa's hidden past, subscribe to African Tales Arising and join us for more incredible stories from across the continent. Because the next forgotten legend may be even more astonishing than this one. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep the stories alive.